Are you ready to elevate your business game?
As long as you're earning something, there's always that opportunity to save. And you start with where you are.
Kama wewe ni mfanyabiashara, huwezi kaa bure, unajipanga taratibu vile inavyofaa.
Join us each week as we dive into the stories of the world's most driven entrepreneurs.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
The Grind, where business meets brilliance. Tune in every Monday at 7:30 p.m. because your business deserves the best.
Coming to you live from Nairobi, Kenya, this is TV47 Weekend Edition. On the Sign Language docket is Rhoda Nyamai. I'm news journalist Stanley Nyaringita. Now, the 2027 elections are beckoning, and one of the most critical tools is the artificial intelligence. How critical is AI even as we look towards the 2027 elections? Tonight, we tackle that conversation and explore this whole bit of it. Patrick Kiniti, he is the Senior Systems Engineer at TechMax Africa. He will be joining us this particular evening. The other gentleman has sent his apologies. We'll be diving into this, the political ramifications of the same, and what the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission needs to know about the growth of artificial intelligence in the country. All that, but first, to the highlights.
Tonight, abduction survivors and their families fear they're being trailed by mysterious figures they believe are security agents.
For days, the car was parked near my workplace with two occupants, a man and a woman, inside at all times. The exact vehicle was also seen surveilling Jamil and Aslam Longton on multiple occasions.
Also tonight, tragedy strikes Dr. Agri School again as a road crash claims 4 students and a parent just after fire forced an indefinite closure.
Miaga imeandikwa kwa magari, ukiona dereva anapeleka vibao uzushi, ukajaribu kuzusha, lakini less than a second hivi gari kwa imependuka mazi.
Plus, 1 week after M23 militants took control, Goma residents are on edge, desperate for return to normalcy.
Right, thank you for choosing us this particular evening. You can always talk to us on our social media platforms. Tonight, victims of the recent spate of abductions and their families are living in constant fear over what they say is following constant surveillance from people they believe are security agents. They now want the International Criminal Court, that is ICC, to intervene to investigate and prosecute the perpetrators of the alarming surge of cases of enforced disappearances and killings in the country. Sheila Chelangat begins our bulletin tonight.
For the infamous Kitengela 3, Bob Njagi Aslam Longton and Jamil Longton, their 32 days of being held incommunicado were pure horror. Their release was a major relief to them and their families. However, this relief appears to have soared in the weeks since their release. They say they have been subjected to constant surveillance and threats from people they believe to be security agents.
On January 5th, 2025 at 6 a.m., I noticed a black Subaru Outback with the registration number KDP 044J with tinted black windows, black tinted windows, trailing me during my morning run in Kitengela. For days, the car was parked near my workplace with two occupants, a man and a woman, inside at all times. The exact vehicle was also seen surveilling Jamil and Aslam Longton on multiple occasions.
Families of Kalani Mwema and late Justus Mutumwa, who were abducted in Mlolongo, also narrate their experience of numerous threatening calls and surveillance in their search for their kin.
Someone who claimed to be a police officer, he told me that my brother was in Lamu and would be released that night. However, he also wanted me to keep this information to myself or risk my brother heading up in morgue,
warning me to stop pursuing the case. The caller warned me that I would also be forcibly disappear. I soon realized I was being followed both on foot and vehicles, often at night.
As of now, the whereabouts of two of these Mlolongo 4 still remains unknown. Data from the Kenya Human Rights Commission shows that there have been 89 cases of enforced disappearance since last year.
The state is still pursuing us, perhaps because of the evidence that we have in regard to these forceful disappearances.
Kuna kazi kubwa zaidi ambayo Inspector General wa Police anayo katika hii nchi zaidi ya kuhakikisha kwamba sisi tuko hai na tuko salama.
They are now calling on the International Criminal Court ICC to intervene, investigate and prosecute those responsible for the enforced disappearance and killings. Sheila Chelangat for TV47.
Some sad news now, and grief has engulfed the Dr. Aggrey Secondary School fraternity following the road accident that claimed the lives of 4 students, a parent and the minibus driver along the Undanyi-Mwatate Road at Taita Taveta County. The Education Cabinet Secretary, that is Julius Ogamba, sent his condolences to the families of the victims who were involved in the accidents. Our reporter Anastasia Mukabi with more details.
The new month starts in a somber note at Dr. Aggrey Boys High School following the recent incidents that have impacted the school's community. 6 lives were lost following a road accident at Undanyi-Mwatate Road, Josa area in Taita Taveta County. This comes hot in the heels of another situation that resulted in the students being sent home indefinitely following a fire incident in the school's dormitories. In pain, the road accident survivors recounted the final moments before the accident occurred and what caused the fatal crash.
Ilikuwa inaenda tu vizuri. Tulipofika mahali kama kuna kona hivi, dereva akaanza kupeleka na speed. So ile kuzusha, miaga imeandikwa kwa magari, ukiona dereva anapeleka vibaya uzushi. Tukajaribu kuzusha. Lakini less than a second hivi, gari kwa imependuka mazee.
With grief on their face, the family and friends of Josa accident victims were assured by Dr. Aggrey's school principal, Robert Aran, that everyone shall receive the assistance required.
We had 25 boys who were injured and they were rushed to this facility, Voi Hospital. And then out of the 25, 2 of them were transferred to Mombasa for further medication. We are making arrangements to ensure that the logistical issues are addressed.
Taita Taveta Senator Jones Mwaruma complained over poor medical services at some of the hospitals in Taita Taveta, highlighting, for instance, that many lack mere X-rays machines.
Preparedness yetu kama hospitali haijakuwa nzuri sana kwa sababu area ya kureceive casualties haina mahali pakubwa pa kureceive casualties. Ni vizuri iwe expanded.
Meanwhile, the bodies of the deceased are at the Moi Hospital mortuary for identification and preservation. Anastasia Mkabi, TV47.
Right, to some health matters which also relate to political matters. A section of Kenya Kwanza leaders have castigated opposition counterparts for allegedly spreading misinformation regarding the performance of the newly fangled Social Health Authority, instead asserting how President William Ruto's health project will be beneficial to Kenyans once prevailing challenges are settled. This as a section of leaders from Western Kenya vowed to rally behind President William Ruto ahead of the 2027 elections on the basis that they stand to gain more with Ruto than any other person. Mike Kagongo with the details.
The Social Health Authority, a key component of Kenya's universal health coverage UHC agenda, which aims to provide affordable health care to all citizens, has for the recent past suffered bitter backlash from Kenyans and several legislators opposed to the Kenya Kwanza government. Hours after National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula directed Parliamentary Health Committee to meet with officials from the Ministry of Health and Social Health Authority to address the unending complaints about SHA, a group of Kenya Kwanza allied legislators have come out to defend SHA.
We must get away, involve the chiefs, the elders, and other leaders, religious leaders, and all stakeholders, so that we can be able to see where the gaps are and we can fill them.
Tunaendelea kuiangalia na kuichunguza, na hivi karibuni itakuwa imesimama kwa sababu tumeanza kuona inaanza kulipia watu wetu. Na pahali tunaambia Wakenya kule kuna shida, wanatuambia sisi ndio ambao tunaketi kule bunge ndio tunajua na tunaangalia shida iko wapi, na sisi tunaambia rais hapa kuna shida, tatua hii shida.
Speaking in Nairobi, Laikipia East Member of Parliament Mwangi Kionchore slammed leaders he accused of misleading Kenyans over the SHA legislation, saying every Kenyan should take a bold move to register in order to benefit in case of illness.
Bereni, we have been accused of chest stabbing, but what we are telling Kenyans is that we are listening to you. Na ile jambo la muhimu zaidi ni wakati tutaanza kukubali sisi wote ni wa Kenya.
Walikuwa pale mezani wakipitisha hii SHA na wakituambia uzuri wa SHA hii, lakini kwa sababu hawawiani kisiasa na serikali, sasa wameona kwamba sasa itakuwa ni platform nzuri ya kupiga siasa. Lakini mwananchi wa Kenya sio mjinga, amekusikia wakati unapigia SHA ubabe.
Meanwhile, in Kakamega County, Area Governor Fernandez Baraza declared his region's intention to support the Ruto government. Reason being that the Kenya Kwanza government has initiated a number of development projects in Kakamega and Western Kenya.
Lakini kuna jamaa wengine ambao wanaitwa Team Divide Kenya, wakiongozwa na yule jamaa wa mitego, yule jamaa wa shares, na yule mkabila kutoka kwa mlima anaitwa Rigiji. Tunataka kuambia Team Divide Kenya ya kwamba hapa Kakamega sisi siasa ya ukabila na siasa ya kupinga mambo ya bonus hatutaki.
Tunaambia huyu mtu ambaye anatuambia ati msisikie tuambie Museveni, wewe tunakwambia we are not stupid. We know what you are doing.
Sisi kama watu wa Ingo make one resolution that we are going to work with President William Samoei Ruto.
Akisema kwamba hata kama ule mjaluo kumpigia kura apate nafasi kwa serikali, ule mluya kumpigia kura apate nafasi kwa serikali, ati Rais Ruto anafanya makosa. Hiyo ni makosa kweli?
Mimi naomba nyinyi mkuu wa jamii jirani na magharibi, tafuteni urafiki na sisi. Watu ya hiyo tumejaliwa. Tungependa Mungu ajalie watu ya magharibi.
Under this new health coverage, more than 17 million Kenyans have registered. Government says primary health care services are available to all Kenyans who are enrolled with SHA, regardless of whether they have contributed or not. Mike Kagwango, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Kagungu, for that. And to some politics, while new political outfits begin to emerge into the system, ODM, that is Orange Democratic Movement Party, has said that it will not be emerging with the United Democratic Alliance Party, that is UDA, insisting that ODM will have its candidate running in the forthcoming general elections. Additionally, the ODM Party Secretary General, that is Edwin Sifuna, has received backing from the party amidst accusations of being against the broad-based government agenda.
Despite drumming up support for the broad-based government in which ODM boasts of key cabinet appointments, the Orange Democratic Movement has maintained a tough stance regarding a possible merger with the ruling UDA, its leaders stating that the party will not lay down her long-standing political capital to join a new outfit.
Na tutaki chama kingine chochote kilete mambo ya propaganda kwa members wetu. Tunaambia chama cha UDA kwamba mumekaribishwa katika hii region, lakini mkuja na heshima. Mkuja na heshima. Mambo ya kutumia uongo, mtawacha uongo. Sisi tunajua kwamba kiongozi wetu ni Raila Amolo Odinga na chama cha ODM kiko na structures.
Wale ambao wanakimbia mbio ati wanaingia kwa serikali ama kwa UDA ati kwa sababu wamesikia ati ODM inataka kuingia huko. UDA ndio inaingia kwa ODM ama ODM ndio inaingia kwa UDA.
Speaking after a meeting with ODM leaders in Vihiga County, the area senator Godfrey Osotsi, who also doubles as ODM deputy party leader, has lashed out at a section of politicians whom he claims have been convincing ODM members to exit the party.
Tuna watu ambao wamekuwa kitembea haswa hapa Vihiga County wakisema kwamba hao wameenda UDA kwa sababu hata ODM inakuja UDA. Nataka kuambia wenzetu wa chama cha ANC, kama nyinyi mumeenda UDA, muende kwa amani. Msitumie jina ya ODM kama sababu ya kwenda UDA.
Additionally, ODM SG Edwin Sifuna received backing from ODM leaders in Vihiga County who have expressed their full support towards Sifuna's tough stand against the Kenya Kwanza administration.
Ukienda hospitali unapata haijafanyika, labda lazima utazungumzia. Ukipata swala hili kama watu wanashikwa, kuna hijacking ya watu wanaenda kufa ovyo ovyo, si lazima tuzungumze. Ule uozo ambao umesakini katika jamii lazima uangamizwe.
Sisi tutaendelea kuunga Bwana Sifuna mkono mambo ambayo anayeongea, kukataa uovu ambayo unatendeka serikalini ili serikali yetu iwajibike.
ODM leaders now say that the party is preparing for massive membership drive in what seems to be a strategic positioning ahead of the 2027 general elections.
Tayari tumeanza, tuko tayari kukabiliana na wenzetu.
Arnold Adidi, TV47, Vihiga.
Thank you, Arnold Adidi, for that. We'll definitely be keeping our eyes and ears to see how this political change will be in this particular Orange Democratic Movement Party. Will it be a sweet orange or a sour orange? We wait to see. From matters politics, we take you all the way to a city in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Yes, Goma. Residents of Goma have shared concerns as the city attempts to return to a normal life, following a week since the M23 militant group claimed its control over the city located in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo. So TV47 has established that at least 773 people have been killed in Goma and its vicinity in a week. This, as former Vice President and Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka has pointed a finger at President William Ruto for what he says is failing to support DRC peace talks amid escalating tensions in the country's volatile eastern region. George Maringa has more.
Shortly after daybreak, this lady, a resident of Goma, is seen preparing her stock consisting of a few vegetables, cabbages, onions for sale. She hopes that despite the paltry offerings she has, she will still attract customers. Goma is her only home, but she says she has now turned a desperate seller, hoping to feed a desperate society that has known anything but peace in the last week. Despair has rocked her as she says famine is threatening her children at home.
Nakuja hapa juu niko mchuruzi, naona njaa inatoa watoto mnyumba
na buchuruzi niko nabo bunatozea yako tunakosa ka tufe namna gani je mimi nabuleta hapa kwa barabara ni ujishe nene kama watu watapata hata mrongo wa bunga kukula.
Disturbing scenes in the streets of Goma, some of which we are unable to show you on TV, all showing death and devastation, a stark showcase of what is left after days of renewed clashes by the M23 rebels. Dead bodies have been spotted.
Tunakosa tufe namna gani je mimi nakiana buchuruzi bunaoza na bakutuzia vitu habiko bisharibikia mnyumba je mimi natuleta kwa barabara
bila amani hatuwezi endelesha nafanya ma activities zetu parce que tunaishi kutoa jour hakuna kitu inawezendeka kama hatuko amani.
On Thursday last week, power and mobile data services were restored in the city and the border with Rwanda was reopened. The head of Congo River Alliance, an umbrella group for the M23 or M23 and others, Corneille Nangaa Yubeluo, called on locals to go back to normal activities. He also vowed to return children to schools and open humanitarian corridors. To get here, the M23 rebels launched a major offensive, resulting in over 700 deaths and 2,800 injuries, including a dozen peacekeepers, according to the UN. The fall of Goma, the largest city in eastern DRC and the capital of North Kivu province, has deepened the crisis, with M23 fighters reportedly advancing south towards Bukavu.
Tufanye kazi zetu sawa kawaida jinsi tunazifahamu mbele parce que tuko wakaskadea shiba jeune il faut tutoke manyumba tuende tutumike tufanye uma petit job juu tufanye tupate kisa kuishi ile tu ni amani tu.
DRC Minister of Defense Guy Kabombo Mwadiamvita described the situation as a matter of life and death, accusing Rwanda and Uganda of supporting the M23 rebels, an accusation which both countries denied. On January 25th, the DRC announced it had cut diplomatic ties with Kigali, claiming that Rwandan troops had crossed the border. The French Foreign Ministry, on the other hand, has demanded that Rwandan-backed fighters leave the country immediately. The fighting has forced thousands to flee their homes. Humanitarian organizations warn of deteriorating conditions in the region, citing shortages of food, water, and medical supplies. Back in Kenya, former Vice President and Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka has faulted the flawed peace process and is now blaming Nairobi over the fall of this peace process.
Nilienda huko nikasaidia to put together a coalition between Kabila, as he then was, and Tshisekedi. And when Ruto took over, the mistake he made ni kutoa Uhuru Kenyatta when he was the chief mediator. Refused to facilitate him. And then the whole thing went down to Angola.
Meanwhile, in eastern DRC, the situation remains tense, with over 100 groups fighting in an area rich in gold, cassiterite, coltan, cobalt, and diamonds, among other minerals. George Maringa, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, George, for that. Now, closer home, a place where we commonly call Nax Vegas. In Nakuru's county's vast villages, families are still reeling from the trauma caused by those they trusted to protect the land. Kenya Wildlife Service officers at Lake Nakuru National Park. As Chichi Josephine uncovers, countless families carry the deep scars of violent beatings by these officers for a single offense. Get this, illegally entering the park or fishing in its waters.
Resting squarely on the floor of the Great Rift Valley with a uniquely rewarding view is the Lake Nakuru National Park. Despite the beauty of the woody and bushy grassland and sky-mirrored lake waters, villagers neighboring this park consider it as a murder zone if the murder cases around here is anything to go by. Many have confessed to either lost their lives, disappeared or left with physical scars from injuries caused by rogue officers in the park.
Sasa wakinipata kama niko pale ndani, some of us are raped here inside. To be sincere.
For many years, there has been an existing antagonism between KWS officers at the Lake Nakuru and the neighboring communities who saw an opportunity in the rising waters of the Lake Nakuru in the form of illegal fishing the source of agony for many villagers around.
Wengine wamepigwa huko, hata wanapelekwa station bondeni kama wako hali mahututi. Kuna mwingine alikufa Disemba. Wengine 3 zilipatikana hapa chini. Panaitwa 41.
Lost in thoughts.
Right, we do apologize for that. That is Chichi Josephine telling us how this particular villages around that national park have turned into murder scenes, and all that will be giving you that more details around that. As you can see, Matters AI will be giving you more details about this, focusing on artificial intelligence, even as we focus on the 2027 elections. How is and what needs to be done? All that coming in a few. Meanwhile, allies of the former Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, have criticized Environment Minister, that is Aden Duale, saying it is sad to see him attacking his colleague, CS in Public Service, Justin Muturi. This is in response to Muturi's criticism of the government, especially regarding the increase in abductions in the country. Rigathi Gachagua has also criticized President William Ruto for assisting the Democratic Republic of Congo in achieving peace, while Kenyans are crying out about the risk of youth abductions.
As leaders supporting the government continue to attack Public Service Cabinet Secretary Justin Muturi, urging him not to criticize the same government is serving or else resign, allies of the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua have come forward to oppose the criticism directed at CS Muturi.
When Duale, you are talking about Muturi resigning, we know you are trying to preserve your kinsman, Nurdin Hadi. He has no moral authority to tell Justin Muturi to resign. That is to show that he does not understand the Constitution. Let him go and tell his boss, His Excellency William Samoei Ruto, to consult the Constitution if they are man enough.
Speaking at the Almighty God Church in Mathioya constituency, Murang'a County, the leaders condemned the increase of abduction cases in the country, stating that the government should be held accountable.
It is pointless, Mr. President, for you to pretend to be creating peace in DRC when your government is abducting and killing our children. It doesn't make sense.
Sisi tunaendelea kuambia serikali tumekataa vijana wetu kuuawa.
And as a woman, as a mother, I know the pain of giving birth to a child and then the next day they are dead. It is very painful.
On his part, Gachagua stated that he has been consulting with leaders from various regions and that soon he will provide his political move as we head to the 2027 elections.
Ndio nimueleze vile watu wameniambia hii, wanataka tupange namna hii, nitoe interim report, alafu niendelee kusikiza maoni ya kila mtu.
Rigathi Gachagua expressed his disappointment with the government in serving its people.
Sisi shida yetu na William Ruto na serikali ni ahadi za uongo. That is our problem. Mambo ya uongo, Bishop. Tuliahidi hawa watu wote wetu ya kwamba bottom up economic transformation agenda ni ya kuweka pesa kwa mfuko ya kila Mkenya. Instead, ile kidogo walikuwa nayo kwa mfuko, serikali ikaingia kwa mfuko ikato.
Josh Onsare, TV47.
Now, meanwhile, as the world observes Wetlands Day, coastal wetlands are grappling with unprecedented degradation, worsened by climate change, rising populations, and crushing poverty. Ruo Masha, the Kwale County Forest Conservator, points to the local communities as a major factor behind the destruction of mangrove forests. In response, 11-year-old climate ambassador Alice Wanjiru is leading an initiative to protect these vital ecosystems. Speaking during a tree planting event in Sunza Kwale, Wanjiru stressed the importance of conserving mangroves, which are rapidly declining due to human activity and climate change.
Ambao tunaishi katika nchi kavu tunafanya shughuli tofauti tofauti. Moja wapo ni ukulima, nyingine ni ukataji wa miti. So unaona kule tukiharibu kunakuwa hakuna zile bidhaa za miti. Watu sasa wana resort back to the mangrove forest area. So tungependa kuhimiza wakulima kwamba as the ambassador anafanya hii upanzi wa miti. Iwe tu pia tunahimiza wale wakulima waweze kupanda miti kwa mashamba yao. Because the presidential target ya 15 billion si kupanda kwa misitu ya serikali peke yake, gazetted forest. Lakini ukiangalia hiyo flow ya areas to plant trees, most of the areas ziko katika community land, ziko katika private land, because ndio sehemu ambayo ina sehemu kubwa kupanda. So tunahimiza wananchi na wakulima na wanafunzi, tukipanda miti katika state forest, pia tuende kwa mashamba zetu tuweze kupanda. Halafu tuweze kulima mashamba yetu kwa njia ya kuhifadhi. Kuhifadhi ni kwamba you do terraces in your farm so that when it rains, mchanga usije huku baharini ukaziba zile mangrove tena ikadegrade.
In 3 years, I've planted 20,000 trees and participated in various environmental activities. And I'd like to say that I have a goal of planting 1 million trees by 2032 and also for 1 million trees in 5 minutes so that I can get into the Guinness Book World of Records.
Right. It is definitely a call to action to each one of us to ensure that we conserve our wetlands. Now, remember, conversation today, artificial intelligence. We are taking this particular conversation and taking a look at 2027 elections, quite a number of years right there. What does the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission need to do? What does the government need to do? And most importantly, what do you need to do as a viewer on matters artificial intelligence, even as we look for that particular year? We're taking a short break. When we come back, Rhoda Nyamai and I will be telling you what has been happening in Kenya and globally.
Are you ready to elevate your business game?
As long as you're earning something, there's always that opportunity to save. And you start with where you are.
Kama wewe ni mfanyabiashara, huwezi kaa bure, unajipanga taratibu vile inavyofaa.
Join us each week as we dive into the stories of the world's most driven entrepreneurs.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
The Grind, where business meets brilliance. Tune in every Monday at 7:30 p.m. because your business deserves the best.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm
which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Right, welcome back. This is a TV47 Weekend Edition. Rhoda Nyamai is on the sign language docket. My news to Stanley Nyaringita. Allow us to tell you again about the Nakuru story. In Nakuru's county's vast villages, families are still reeling from the trauma caused by those they trusted to protect the land. Kenya Wildlife Service officers at Lake Nakuru National Park. As Chichi Josephine uncovers, countless families carry the deep scars of violent beatings by these officers for a single offense. For example, illegally entering the park or fishing in its waters.
Resting squarely on the floor of the Greater Rift Valley with a uniquely rewarding view is the Lake Nakuru National Park. Despite the beauty of the woody and bushy grassland and sky-mirrored lake waters, villagers neighboring this park consider it as a murder zone if the murder cases around here is anything to go by. Many have confessed to either lost their lives, disappeared or left with physical scars from injuries caused by rogue officers in the park.
Sasa wakinipata kama niko pale ndani, some of us are raped here inside. To be sincere.
For many years, there has been an existing antagonism between KWS officers at the Lake Nakuru and the neighboring communities who saw an opportunity in the rising waters of the Lake Nakuru in the form of illegal fishing, the source of agony for many villagers around.
Wengine wamepigwa huko, hata wanapelekwa station bondeni kama wako hali mahututi. Kuna mwingine alikufa December. Wengine 3 zilipatikana hapa chini. Panaitwa 41.
Lost in thoughts, Monica Kenya stares at her son's photograph, Kevin Ganila, who died in the year 2024 after allegedly being beaten and thrown into Lake Nakuru by rogue officers for illegally fishing in the lake.
Kevin wakati alifanywa postmortem, Kevin alikutikana, aligongwa na ndiye akatupwa kwa maji. Kuna wenye waliona driver mwenye anaendeshaga boat na huyo mkubwa wao wa kambi. Hao ndo walishika Kevin. Na venye walimshika, juu walimshikaga kitu saa 2 ya usiku. Na venye walimshika hapo ndo Kevin alipotea.
Akinyi, a mother of 3 from Bahati, Nakuru, says his son had just completed his KCSE examinations and had gone inside the lake to fish, at least for his college fees.
Wakati alifanya mtihani wa form 4, alibakisha deni kubwa kwa shule. Alikuwa mbakisha ya 20,000. Na hapo ndo Kevin alikuja akakaa, tukaulizana kwenye tutatoa kibarua ili aweze kulipa hiyo deni apate mtihani wake aendelee na masomo. Na ndio penye alipigiwa simu na akatumiwa nauli akaenda town. Na Kevin wakati alienda huko amekuwa akifanya tu kibarua kutoa samaki huko kwa maji mpaka penye mauti yake ilimpata.
Few kilometers from the lake is Moses Ngwenye, a fisherman healing injuries after he was allegedly attacked by officers on his way from fishing, even after getting entrance consent from one of the said officers.
Ilikuwa tarehe 8
Nikaenda nikasikizana na magemu moja, akaniruhusu kuingia kwa maji, nikaingia kufanya kazi yangu, nikafanya mpaka saa 8 ya usiku. Sasa baada ya kufanya kazi nikatoka vizuri, nikavaa vizuri, ndio nianze safari ya kutoka na mzigo. Hapo wagemu hakuja wasita, wakanivamia hapo na viboko. Hakuna kusema ati hakuna kuongea, walianza tu wakanichapa kama nyoka. Kitu kama 30 minutes. Mwisho wakaniacha, wakasema wacha akulie na fisi. Sasa wakatoa manguo zote, nikabaki ushu vile nimezaliwa.
It was revealed that for any fisherman to fish in the lake, KWS officers demand for bribes either in form of funds or an equal share of the fish caught.
Usikizana na sisi wanawagemo, wanakuambia enda ufanye fishing. Ukishafanya fishing unatoka na mzigo yako, unamwekea pesa, anakupea namba. Na hiyo namba yenye anakupea si namba ya line yake, inakuanga line hata ya bibi yake ama ya rafiki yake, ya mtu mwenye ako nje, si mtu mwenye anafanya kwa game.
Pengine umeelewana na mmoja, naye utaenda hapo kwa bahati mbaya upatane na watatu wenye hamkuelewana. Na hapo vurugu itaanza sababu wewe umeelewana yao wale hawajui, umeelewana yako wale hawajui.
Kamau Muna's case, not his real name, is not any different. He has been healing his injuries for over a month.
Walinichapa sana, waliniumiza. Walichapa karibu masaa 2 mfululizo. Na walikuwa wengi, so kila mtu anakuchapa mpaka hii majani inaitwa dhafai huwa inachoma sana. Ni kama hata waliona huyu hawezi, huyu kulingana na hiyo vita ni kama hata hawezi fika nje. So ndio wakaniachilia baada ya hiyo masaa kama 2, walinikalishia siafu.
The KWS officers here have not only been accused of being brutal, but also said to molest women who are caught fishing.
Wafuate protocol, lakini hapo hivi nikishikwa, ya kwanza unapigwa, ya pili wanakufanyia vitu vingine hafai kufanyia hata binadamu, wanakufinya. Yaani wanakufanyia kama zile za kitambo walikuwa wanafinyanga watu.
Irene, a fishmonger, says that together with her friend, they were raped by some officers inside the park after having no bribe to give.
They harassed me, they raped me there inside. Wali rape, na tulikuwa watatu, wali to rape. Unashikwa na samaki kama hizi. Sisi waramboga.
For 3 years now, Mary Asami has been searching for her last born son, Brian Stingo.
Mpaka leo hii, miaka 2 imeisha, hii ni mwaka ya 3. Bado tu anafanya ile uchunguzi. Awachaniambia mtoto wako ndio huyu.
She narrates the last moments with her son before he went fishing with his friend, never to be seen since.
Alipotea 2022 mwezi wa 7 wakati ya kampeni. Na kuna kijana alikuja kwa nyumba akamchukua saa 1:30. Huyo kijana anaitwa Tyson Ng'ang'a. Kumchukua akamwambia wanaenda kufisi. Wakatoka na yeye. Brian akaenda, baada siku 3 simuoni. Kutafuta huyo Tyson, akasema Brian alianguka kwa maji.
All these brutal acts faced condemnation from locals and human rights defenders, resulting to protests by youth decrying KWS police brutality.
Most of these cases which has been reported, nothing has been done. And we are expecting maybe the KWS have been having people who have been covering their cases, because the CID in Nakuru, who are supposed maybe to to investigate these cases, I think they have not done good work.
But we are saying, as civil society, that the park stops first and foremost with the Director General of KWS. If I were him, by today, I should have tendered my resignation, because it's not normal for what is going on to continue happening under his watch.
For the last few days, there has been protest over the disappearance of Brian Odhiambo, a fisherman who was allegedly arrested by KWS officers on 18th January 2025 never to be seen again.
Mimi kijana mdogo ameniacha hapo hivyo na mokoro. Sijui nianzie wapi. Ndugu wangu alikuwa ananipatia mawaidha hivi tufanye hivi. Nilimuona Saturday asubuhi mwisho. Mpaka leo sijaona ndugu yangu bado.
His mother, Elizabeth Auma, in tears recounts witnessing KWS officers beating and dragging Brian inside the park after allegedly arresting him.
Kuwafuata nilipata Burayo amesapigwa na huku kwa duka ya mama mwingine, na wamembeba wamemvuruta, sasa wameingiza ndani ya game park. Nikajaribu kuwaita simu kuje tuongee, hawakutaka hata kuniangalia. Walimvuruta na mguu kwa madafai kwa mamiba akiwakienda. Wakasungusa gari hivi, kufika karibu na gari walimshika watu wawili wakamrusha hivi kwa gari.
The question of Brian's whereabouts lingers even after the KWS senior officer in charge of Lake Nakuru denied knowing the suspect in question and his whereabouts in a court of law.
I need you to confirm that it was your officers who accosted Brian Odhiambo.
My lord,
I just need you to confirm it was your officers who arrested.
No, my lord.
Not your officers.
My lord, we have a suspect whom we arrested, but not Brian Odhiambo.
Mimi naweza waambia tu watusaidie, watupatie tu Brian venye hako tu. I'll just take him the way he is, whether dead or alive. Akiwa ameumizwa, I'll just nurse the wounds.
Despite all these challenges, fishermen, who majority are youth, say they will continue engaging in illegal fishing driven by economic necessity and lack of viable alternatives.
Nilikuwa naomba tu, sisi hakuna haja na wanyama. Mimi niko na haja na samaki yangu na navua samaki yangu juu hapa hivi ndio inatulisha na hadi bibi yangu akule vizuri. Hii population iko juu na hii hakuna job, watusaidie.
Ninajua tu kabisa pale ni kuriski. Watu wamekufa, watu wamepoteza maisha na tunajua. Na bado tunaenda tu juu hakuna otherwise. Mimi siendi niende niibe mtu, unaona kubeba kitu ya mtu.
In 2021, the newfound livelihood took a dark turn when the fish from the lake were declared unfit for consumption by Kenya Marine and Fisheries Research Institute. It is a research that locals have strongly faulted, saying the matter has been politicized as the officers themselves conduct major fishing activities at night.
Watu wenyewe wanapanganga watu kufanya kazi na wenyewe pia wanavua. Na hiyo boti yenye wanafanyisa hiyo boti yao hiyo ya kufanya patrol au wenyewe wanafanya ya kuvua kwa maji.
All these began 5 years after the rising water levels of Lake Nakuru surged and submerged homes and farmlands, opening up an opportunity for fishing.
Wakati maji ilitoka, hatukujua kuna samaki ndani. Tulirudi kustukia baadaye kuna samaki na tulikuwa tunazichukua mpaka hata nje ya nyumba hapo. Hata saa hii maji vile ilivyo, samaki wanapatikana nje kwa sababu yako kwa mashamba. Lakini baada ya hiyo imeleta changamoto kubwa, imeleta mvuto. So wakiwa wanafanya pale ile mpaka yetu na KWS, ile fence imeshaharibika. So unakuta ya kwamba zingine wanaingia mpaka ndani.
An issue that has now antagonized the communities in Baroti, Mwareki and other villages, with KWS officers manning the park.
Ukitoka pale kwa maji utampata kwa waya hapo waya mwisho, na anaona mizigo imetoka naye, anasema lipe 10,000 ama lipe 5,000. Kama ni kidogo anasema lipe 2,000, lakini hawezi pita hapo.
The pull and shove between fisher folk and the enforcement officers at the Lake Nakuru National Park assumes a new twist by day. The height of it being the disappearance of Brian Odhiambo, a fisherman who was reportedly fishing at the lake. Now, a ray of silence and fear has since enveloped the villages of Baroti, Kivumbini and Flamingo as many demand for justice. Chichi Josephine reporting for TV47 from Baroti village in Nakuru County.
Thank you very much, Chichi Josephine, for that. We definitely hope the relevant authorities will take matter into their own hands on this particular bit. From matters fishing in Nakuru, we take a look at matters education and particularly on matters capitation all the way in Mombasa. So education stakeholders in that particular place have called upon the national government to work on releasing schools capitation on time to avoid interfering with the normal schools programming. Speaking in Bombolulu Nyali constituency, where 500 students from less fortunate families received checks for school fees from a well-wisher, Alfayo Nelson, the stakeholders called upon for more strategies to be put in place to ensure that no one lacks education due to lack of funds.
Leo hii tuko na mradi ya kusupport wanafunzi ambao kipato chao kiko chini sana, kipato cha familia chao. So tulifanya public participation, tuka-identify wanafunzi 500 within the 5 wards. Wale ambao tutawasupport na karo ili waweze kwenda shule. Tusupport juhudi ya serikali ya kuhakikisha kwamba kuna total 100% enrollment kwa mashule. Mimi kama stakeholder katika jamii ningeweza kuhimiza serikali iweze kufanya juhudi zote kuhakikisha kwamba resources hizi zinaingia timely, kwa sababu watoto au wanafunzi ni watu very delicate, wale bado tunaweza sema ni endangered. So pale ambapo resources zao zinakwama inamaanisha kwamba tunawachelewesha, na programs za kishule pia unajua huwa kwamba ziko fixed. So tunahimiza serikali kwamba wafanye vyovyote wawezavyo, lakini resources hizi zifike kwa muda unaofaa.
Tunajua kwamba serikali imejizatiti katika masuala tofauti katika sekta ya elimu, katika CDF, katika county government ambayo inafanya masuala ya ECD, lakini haitoshelezi. Ndiposa wadau, watu wa binafsi ambao wamejitolea kutoka katika mifuko yao kama Nelson Alfayo Foundation kuja kuziba yale mapengo ambayo yako katika elimu. Kauli yangu tu ni kwa
wazazi wetu wengi kule majumbani wanakula miraa, wanakula mogokao, wanatumia uraibu tofauti, na hilo jambo ambalo wanafanya linakuja kuaffect watoto wetu katika elimu yao. Kwa hivyo mimi nasisitiza kwamba tunashukuru sana kwa vile watoto wamekuwa in power na waendelee na shule, lakini zaidi pia nataka tu kuzungumzia wazazi wachunge watoto sana.
Sports News brought to you by Maybets.
Right, time to get sporty. I'll be telling you about the Arsenal-Man City results in a few, but first, Kenya is known to be passionate and enthusiastic when it comes to sports, having produced arguably some of the greatest field and track athletes in the past years. There's no doubt that Kenya is a true pillar of talent in the world. However, there's more to Kenya when it comes to sports. It's not just about athletics or the beautiful game of football, but a new team sport has emerged in the country, and a rare one indeed, ice hockey, which is a sport played on ice skates, usually on an ice skating rink with lines and markings specific to the sport. Now, our sports reporter Nzuki Allen joined up with the Kenya Ice Lions and shares with us this resilient journey by these trailblazers. Take a look.
Of course, when you think about ice hockey, you don't figure it in Kenya, you don't see it in Nairobi, but it's here and it's a unique sport.
Kenya is internationally recognized as a talent factory for long-distance athletes. However, recently, Kenya has once again taken the world by storm after the emergence of a Kenyan national ice hockey team on the international stage, the Kenya Ice Lions.
It's a journey of guys who found this beautiful sport, they fell in love with it, and they want to see it to the next level. The rest of the world knew that Kenya has an ice hockey team. We're not just about athletics or about football, but we're also about ice hockey.
Their journey here has however not been a walk in the park. It's been a story of hard work, dedication, resilience and hope.
We started off mostly, especially with guys playing with gear that's torn apart, not working properly, loose fitting. And now, thanks to donations from other players who usually come to play with us, one of the sports companies, CCM, another one also Warrior, we've been kitted out properly. So that's both for the senior team and also for the youth team.
The Ice Lions do their training at the Panari Ice Rink, which is the only ice rink in East and Central Africa. And in turn, ice time is quite expensive, limiting the training time as well as forcing the players to use their own funds.
Ice hockey is a very expensive sport, one in terms of equipment and two in terms of ice time. You have to be on the ice to play ice hockey, and this is a private rink, so you have to pay to be on the ice.
The team relies on donations from well-wishers and corporates who are keen on inspiring the young team to soar into greatness.
To grow the sport, we need more ice time because currently we don't have enough. And we keep getting more people who want to join, but we are limited because of the ice time. Of course, this rink has there's the maximum number of people you can safely and efficiently have on the ice, so that's a limiting factor. But with partners, corporates, and all the other people involved in sports, government, if we could get more funding, we'd have more ice time, and that means more growth for the sport and more people on the ice.
The temperatures at the Panari Ice Rink are kept well below -5 degrees Celsius, and ice hockey being a very physical game, the players are required to invest heavily on the required gear, with the nearest ice hockey equipment shop being an 8-hour flight away.
The beautiful thing about these Kenya Ice Lions is they're very passionate about the game. They put a lot of their own money and time into this. You know, they have to take a few matatus to get to the rink and back. It takes a lot, right? And they never take it for granted. They appreciate all the help they get, which is great.
Despite these challenges, both the players and administration have remained resilient and are keen on taking the game to the next level.
Hardworking, they put in a lot of sacrifice. Nobody here in this team, whether it's administrative or players, none of us are being paid. We are just coming out, we are dedicating our time and our efforts to be able to not only play the sport, but also to develop it.
With Kenya being a tropical country and centered at the equator, the Kenya Ice Lions have garnered international attention, with many wondering how that is possible. This in turn has led to more exposure for the young team and more donations.
We have done a few videos as we grow by, and this puts it out there and tells people we're here. We get gear donations, we get donations in terms of money. Corporates see us and they're like, okay guys, these are good initiative, we'd like to support you and let us know. So that's where most of our funding comes from.
These donations have enabled the team to participate in international tournaments and recently won the Sicilia Men's Friendship League, which was an exhibition tournament held in South Africa.
Here we had the opportunity to go to South Africa. We brought back a trophy. We were coached by an international coach, and that really opened our eyes, our mindset, and also the skills that we do have.
The Ice Lions dream of one day flying the Kenyan flag in the Winter Olympics, a dream which was made achievable after they were accepted into the International Ice Hockey Federation, becoming just the 5th African team to ever join the federation.
When we began, the goal was to play in the Olympics, and of course one of the steps is joining the International Ice Hockey Federation, which was a journey of about 2 years, and the announcement that we've joined was a huge leap in that dream, in that goal for us. And now this puts more work on us. We need to develop the talent, we need to develop the skill, and hopefully in the near future you'll see Kenya in the Winter Olympics. Recognized by the International Ice Hockey Federation. It's been a journey that we've been on for quite a while, because that means being a part of that federation, being recognized also by the government. It shows that the sport is developing, it is recognized in Kenya, and now we can be able to have access to support from the federation and also opportunities to also play in the big leagues with the others.
With more players enrolling in the program,
kuna watu wadogo wanatokeanga zoezi asubuhi. Kila asubuhi, imagine saa moja asubuhi Saturday inafaa kupata watoto wako hapa kwa rink. Sasa sisi tukiona hivyo, manzi tunasema kuna venye tuta give up. Kama sisi ndio wanatuangalia game grow, juu kama ingekuwa taki kusaidia wengine, hakuna venye game ita grow juu. Sasa sisi tukienda, inamaanisha game ita dead.
The team operates as a unit with some of the more experienced players coaching the younger players in the program.
So we have the senior players now training the little kids. We have training program for 6, 7, 8-year-olds. And the senior players you just saw on the ice are out there helping them. So that will lead to the future development of the game. And I think someday you might see a Kenyan in the Winter Olympics playing ice hockey.
The bunch of passionate players sacrifice their own funds to pay for their training, hoping that one day the government can chip in and support their dreams.
Sapata gava wanasikia wanajua sahi tumeingia kwa hizo ofisi wanajua kuna timu inaitwa Kenya Ice Lions. Lakini bado watoki. Hiyo inamaanisha nini? Hawatuamini. Lakini sisi tutazidi kuonyesha. Sina to give up. Sisi tutazidi kuonyesha hii kitu lazima tutaweza. Hata kama sisi tutajisimamia, lakini lazima tupeperushe bendera ya Kenya huko nje.
The development in the level of talent and skill in the team over the past few years has surprised even some of the former internationally recognized professional players.
5 years, the amount they've grown in the 2 years I've known them is incredible. In 5 years, it's going to be on another level. I think we're going to start seeing them be truly competitive in international play. I'm excited for the development of the younger players, and as they move into leadership roles and train the next generation, I think Kenya's going to be competitive.
The Ice Lions believe that one day their hard work and resilience will pay off as they dream of making their debut in the Winter Olympics.
Tutazidi kuimba. Olympics lazima tutaingia. Lazima. Na tutaingia na kichwa.
The Kenya Ice Lions' resilience has made them garner international recognition. However, here in the country, things remain the same. They are even forced to use their own money to pay for their training facilities. But the Lions still remain hopeful that one day the government will chip in and together they will help the team achieve the dream of making it to the Winter Olympics. Mzuki Allen for TV47 Sports.
Sports news brought to you by Maybets.
Right, good stuff there, right, Alan Zuki. And I told you I'll be telling you about matters English Premier League. Arsenal are going to be having a very, very lovely week this particular week. They have defeated Manchester City 5-1. From matters EPL, we come back home and we turn our eyes to the 2027 elections. What do we need to do? And what do we need to know about AI, artificial intelligence, pertaining to the 2027 elections? As you can see, going to be having our guest going to be talking about this, Patrick Kiniti. He is the systems engineer head at TechMax Africa. He's going to be giving us all these details. He is a guru in matters cybersecurity. We've witnessed that recently in the country. This is a conversation you definitely don't want to miss. We're taking a short break. When you come back, all that right here.
Are you ready to elevate your business game?
As long as you're earning something, there's always that opportunity to save. And you start with where you are.
Kama wewe ni mfanyabiashara, huwezi kaa bure, unajipanga taratibu vile inavyofaa.
Join us each week as we dive into the stories of the world's most driven entrepreneurs.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
The Grind, where business meets brilliance. Tune in every Monday at 7:30 p.m. because your business deserves the best.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
You're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is TV47 Weekend Edition. I'm usually Stanley Nyaringita. Rhoda Nyamai is on the sign language docket. It is now time to get into the conversation that we have been telling you tonight. Matters artificial intelligence and the factor it has and the fact it is going to be playing when it comes to the 2027 elections. But before we get into this, it is definitely critical to even understand what artificial intelligence is. Where did it even come from? Who even started it? These are the questions that we're going to be giving you and answering for you. So definitely let us start with the evolution of artificial intelligence. It traces back to the 1950s, where a gentleman called Alan Turing started this whole thing. Alan Turing's test to determine whether a computer can basically think back in 1950 5 years later, we have this mathematician, John McCarthy, who coined the term artificial intelligence. Now, between the 1950s all the way to the 2000s, there has been quite the progress when it comes to artificial intelligence and some of these computer programs being invented. In 1960s, we had the first natural language processing. Don't worry about those big words. We'll be telling you what they mean, called ELIZA, which was created by MIT student called Joseph Weizenbaum. A decade later, another MIT student invented something else, another natural language processing called Shaldu, which was created by Terry Winograd. Now, years later again, we did see the rise of expert systems like Dendral and Mycin. We're going to be also telling you what expert systems are. Now, this particular years as well, in 1980s, Japan launches its 5th generation computer project aimed to develop computers with reasoning capabilities. So now that we understand what and how the evolution of AI has been, let's get to understand what is AI. You have had these two words, and later on Patrick Initi is going to be also telling us from where he sits what AI is. So AI is basically simulating human intelligence into computers or machines to create the artificial aspect of it. From understanding what AI is, let us also take a look at what are the branches when it comes to AI as well. So the first branch is machine learning, which here the AI systems that learn from data without being explicitly programmed. You don't really have to give data to this particular machine. And here are some of these examples. About 3 of them are going to be taking a look at 2, which is supervised as well as unsupervised. So for the supervised, it uses labeled data sets to train algorithms to predict outcomes and recognize patterns. And then now for the unsupervised patterns, it learns from data without human supervision. So those are the 2. So basically, for the supervised learning, you give it data. For example, if it is photos of cats, you give it photos of cats, and it is able to tell you what this is. For the unsupervised learning, you don't really have to give it data. It finds it for itself. Interesting, right? Another branch of AI is the natural language processing that I was telling you all the way back in the 1960s, traces back there. It deals with the interaction between computers and the human language. Another branch of AI is robotics. This is a branch of AI that deals with the design and development of robots. Another branch here is expert systems. The AI is based computer programs designed to mimic the reasoning and decision-making abilities of a human expert. Now for the expert systems, I'll give you 2 examples. For medical as well as even for financial. For medical, the diagnosis of it, where a doctor is able to diagnose an illness based on what the symptoms that this doctor can see from the patient, right? Now, for the financial explanation of it, where these particular systems are able to predict how you can have investment opportunities, for example, that is based here on the expert systems. Now, let's take a look at the types, and there are majorly about 2 of them, or rather 3 actually, but then 2 that are common: narrow, or also commonly known as weak, which are designed to perform specific functions. These examples include language translators, virtual assistants, and recommendation engines. Now, if you use your iPhone, you probably know Siri, right? Now, this one falls here on narrow weak, gives specific instructions. For the strong or general, which again, many say it is hypothetical, they simulate entire human personality. It has capacity to utilize its intelligence to resolve any challenges without needing any human guidance. Can you imagine that? Now, you're probably watching us being in the kitchen, and this machine can see that you're hungry. Without any human guidance, it can walk to the kitchen, pick up a plate of ugali and managu, for example, and bring to you without human guidance. We yet to see that as well. And something else that we yet to see is a super AI. Now, this surpasses human intelligence, represents a future form of AI where machines could surpass human intelligence across all fields. For this too, still hypothetical, we're to see really the fruition of them. That is matters, the types of AI. And let's talk about something that you have probably interacted with, right? Now let's take a look at the examples of some of these chatbots. ChatGPT is one that you have. Either you're working, you might have probably just searched using ChatGPT, or if you're in school as well, you might have probably used it. It is one of the AI chatbots. It was introduced all the way in 2022 by OpenAI. Something else, Copilot, introduced by Microsoft a year later in 2023. Also introduced in 2022 August is Perplexity AI, and Gemini, which is owned by Google, was launched in March in 2023. DeepSeek, one that has caused quite the controversy, Chinese firm, launched by Liang Wenfeng. He's the owner in December 2023, as well as Cloud. It was launched in March 2023. So now that we understand this particular AI chatbots, why don't we use them this particular evening? And we're going to use them by just asking them a very simple question. Who is William Ruto? You and I probably know the answer to that, but let us see what some of these chatbots could actually tell us what these particular answers are, right? Come with me. So we're going to start off with ChatGPT, which you've most probably used. Okay, so because Gemini has loaded here, we're going to ask it the same question. Who is William Ruto? Gemini tells us, I can't help with responses on elections and political figures right now. While I will never deliberately share something that's inaccurate, I can make mistakes. So while I work on improving, you can try Google search. That is according to Gemini. Let us try ChatGPT. And the same question, ladies and gentlemen. Who is William Ruto? It gives us this whole detailed information. Current president, I can definitely read all of it, but I hope you can see it. Gives us the details of when he was taken in, when he took office on the 13th of September 2022, all the way when he was deputy president, all the way the kind of parties that he had, and that is the information that it gives you. Let us try another one, DeepSeek, right? DeepSeek, again, the same question, who is William Ruto? I want you to see the kind of even wording that all of these chatbots give you. William Ruto is a Kenyan politician, tells you, been serving as president of Kenya on that particular date. They now take you to where he was born. Unlike for ChatGPT, gives you all those particular political parties, can even give you even the photos for DeepSeek. Let us try another one here. For Gemini, it had told us that it can't help us with any responses. Let's try a final one here. Perplexity. So Perplexity, we asked it the same question. Okay, decided to again load. Hope it's going to load. Let us just again type the same. So who is William Ruto? And there you have it, the same. All right, he decided to reload again, but they're going to definitely try. But the whole point is you can definitely see how some of these chatbots give you a different kind of responses for all of them. Now, still on the same, our reporter, William Mwege, takes a look at what this particular AI, when it comes to matters, even politics, definitely means on the political conversation, even as we are in the 2027 elections.
Wangwana wa Kapsereta mjambo.
A rattled political elite.
And I want to assure the people of Kenya, our development, our transformation will not be sabotaged by the naysayers. They must fail, and they will fail, and Kenya will succeed.
President William Ruto weighing into the recent events where some tech-savvy youth took to social media, sharing AI-generated images, videos criticizing the Kenya Kwanza administration.
And we want them to use the internet to benefit themselves, not to insult others. Tumeelewana jameni? lakini wale wanataka kutumia internet kufanya matusi, shauri yao.
Coming to the rescue of the head of state are his allies who share the anger.
Wale wengine ambao wako kwa mitandao kazi ya matusi, ningewauliza waje hapa waone vile vijana wanafinya kompyuta na pesa inaingia kwa mfuko. Sababu ile ya kupiga kelele kwa mitandao ulipwe na wanasiasa, hiyo ni pesa ambayo haiwezi kukusaidia.
The testing of limits of the freedom of expression, setting into motion the future outlook of the country's political landscape.
Look at the social media space in Kenya today. See the toxicity that is there. See the trolling and the insults and the abuse. That a tool that would have been so useful in the development of the human mind and in the development of human enterprise is reduced to a trolling machine.
Let's create a good environment within these platforms so that even when your son or daughter is sitting next to you on a sofa, you will see that the things they are doing are responsible things. We have to discuss ourselves.
Indeed, in Kenya, the election process is characterized by competitive and periodic elections. In a cycle of 5 years, the country witnesses a supposedly do-or-die political situation.
Politics is very difficult and very expensive and very costly. Probably the only people who enjoy politics are the ones who do it for the money.
You know, our Kenyan politics is so much premised on propaganda. Our Kenyan politics is also, how do I put it? It's also so much centrally placed on a lot of innuendos, whereby we have the people of Kenya. When you feed them a story, they rarely confirm.
Since the dispensation of the 2010 Constitution, a new political lifeline was birthed. Political camps in the run-up to the elections will deploy technology to sway votes to their favor. In 2013, the country witnessed former President Uhuru Kenyatta heavily investing on Meta-owned social media platform Facebook to run an intensive online campaign against his then-rival former Prime Minister Raila Odinga.
In 2008, when President Barack Obama introduced a new way of campaign using technology, and that was using Facebook, and Facebook was just new. I think in 2013, now we also went the Obama way. And in fact, the whole world embraced the new technology that was use of Facebook.
With the election in Kenya in 2013, the elections of the US in 2016, and even the current, the just concluded elections in the US, you can tell that artificial intelligence has had an influence on how a number of things were taken up in such elections.
The following political campaigns, Kenya witnessed political figures capitalizing on technology like never before. But this technology had a catch in it. By the help of technology and social media as recent as in the 2022 general elections campaign period, electorates were hit by a tsunami of misinformation, disinformation before, during and after the August 9th general election.
One of the things that we should not let go is the issue on access to information on elections. Because if we do not access the right information on elections, what we are going to do is that we are going to create an opportunity for fake news, an opportunity for misinformation and disinformation, because that was so prevalent.
There was a research that was done a few years back about how Kenyans embrace any information that is fed to them. And actually that particular research was by the TIFA polls. It estimated that over 50% of Kenyans, when you give them information, however much or however raw as it might be, they do not go back and do some background check in terms of confirming whether or not the information given to them is true or not.
In the present date, technology has significantly advanced. Kenya is considered as the pride of Eastern Africa as a regional software hub, where it is one of the 10 fastest growing digital economies in the world with impeccable ICT infrastructure, internet connectivity, and a menu of available digital services leaving Kenyan to a great exposure to the ICT world.
You'll find these Kenyans, they may lack food, but they're so much interested in getting a penny so that they're able to afford internet. If they walk into an office or a restaurant, the first thing they ask for is the internet. Why? It's because they want to see the current happenings. It tells you that these are people who have embraced technology in the sense that they want to know the current day-to-day happening.
Technology is really, really powerful, and the algorithm is in such a way that things go viral very fast. I'm sure even for you who are in the media, you are finding it not very easy to catch up with.
These advancements in technology have exponentially thrived. Artificial intelligence taking center stage in this growth.
You can look at AI as a program and its capability added to a computer, giving it the functions of reasoning and thinking like a human being, meaning it can be able to read data, look at images, drive automobiles, analyze financial data, and in the process be able to make its own conclusions. And adding to that, one of the most interesting things about AI, it has the capability to learn.
Just like before, this new technology caused a swirl in the country's political landscape.
Looking at the capabilities of AI, so you can imagine analyzing demographics, being able to identify like the blocks of people who could be voting. And again, with the young guys, with the young Gen Zs, we've seen the images that have been circulating online. You can imagine the damage that can cause to somebody's reputation.
We'll end up having a competitive fabrication of various political lines and political leaders. That's how actually it will be a game of propaganda, total propaganda using this particular technological advancement that we have in the country.
The possibilities of artificial intelligence within the country's political realm took a full swing during the clamor for good governance led by the Gen Z in 2024 in the anti-finance bill protest, where AI-generated videos, pictures and text were extensively in use.
2027, this is going to be a campaign like no other. It's going to be a campaign full of misinformation, disinformation, half-truth, and deep fakes. So it will be very difficult for voters to be able to sift through the material that they are consuming on their smart devices.
We might find ourselves in a scenario where every political faction is able to use propaganda, and they will use AI and other technological advancements to create a tool of propaganda or create a fabrication of the other political faction.
So it's much about perceptions and information that is being propagated there, and mostly is usually misinformation and disinformation, especially during the political processes.
The online activities are fueled by the significant percentage of Kenyans active on various social media platforms. A survey conducted in 2022 indicates that out of a population estimated at 55.6 million, 23.35 million people had access to the internet as of January 2022, a total internet penetration rate standing at 42%. According to the Communication Authority of Kenya, there were 59 million cellular mobile connections in 2021, 53.4% being smartphones. The Media Council estimates the country has 12 million active social media users.
The biggest risk that we have with the emergence of AI, especially within this democratic process we are calling elections, I think the biggest risk is misinformation.
That we are calling artificial intelligence is like a tool. A tool is what you do with it. If you take a knife, you can prepare dinner, but the same knife can kill. Now, with so much power placed in the hands of a human in the form of AI, we need to ask ourselves, is man responsible enough to handle what is just about to be thrown at them?
More advancements are being made on artificial intelligence, each ticking second. A few days ago, a China-based company caused a buzz after the launch of an AI platform, DeepSeek, which is said to provide advanced artificial intelligence models, particularly for tasks such as natural language processing, data analysis, and various machine learning applications. Experts are sounding the alarm that technology is going to be depended on heavily in the upcoming polls, changing how the country's politics are going to be carried out.
Going forward, I think campaigns are going to be done technologically. Rallies are going to be minimum. You just post something on your TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, X, and the young people will see.
And the fact that most of the voters will actually be young guys who are already tech savvy. So we will see a lot of battle at the social media, trying to manipulate and to woo voters from one end to the other. Then also remember, the beauty of technology is that I could host an X-Space, like for instance today, have 100,000 people attend at any time of the day without spending a coin.
Remember, when you go to the village and put up a tent or go to a social hall, you can only probably reach 100 people. But if Morara, with his 800,000 followers on TikTok, posts a video, he can reach 1 million people. I've had my videos reaching 1 million people, sometimes even up to 2 million people. That is nothing that a rally cannot do that.
Most people nowadays are actually going into mass rallies just to see the leaders. They've never seen them anyway. They just see them on TV. They just want to see the real person. But the real mobilization is happening online. It's happening online.
With more advancements expected in the near future, on how the nation weathers through will not only put a test to the country's political landscape, but also the current legislations that are in place.
A little can be done around AI, because remember, this is an evolving technology. If you say, for instance, you want to shut down social media, it's not possible, because our day-to-day lives heavily relies on connectivity.
What we need to think of ourselves, when we talk about the Elections Act, when we talk about the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act, let us ask ourselves, because this act is, for instance, the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act is the act of 2018. Since then, what has happened? How can we adjust? How can we amend some of these laws to ensure that they are up to date and they are able to deal with the challenges that we have?
We need policies, laws, regulations that place responsibilities, so that we know which responsibility shall be placed on the developer, which one is placed on the user, which one is placed on the deployment.
The laws are there, misuse of computer and cybercrime, it's there. If you are angered by anything that has been put there and you think it is part of a crime, report the crime.
Kenya boasts to be among one of the countries with the fastest technological penetration. 2027 is fast approaching. Keen enough, with the recent happenings, it is a clear indication that once again technology will play a critical role in shaping the country's political landscape. Mwege William, TV47.
Right, thank you very much, Mwege William, for that. And definitely tonight we take a look at how, as he says, how AI will shape up the 2027 elections. A beautiful piece, their analysis, and we're getting even more analysis tonight here by Patrick Kiniti. He is a senior systems engineer at TechMax Africa. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
I know thank you. I know you're following up on Mwege's story. Something that probably you picked up on it.
Yeah, definitely. I think following up on the conversation, especially with AI, one of the key things that we need to be aware of is that this is technology that is constantly evolving. So 2 things to think about. Our social fabric as a country, we are now heavily relying on these gadgets.
Right.
So it means that if I want information today, my first POV is to get up my tablet or my phone, and I want to see what's trending on the social medias. Depending on my age group, the younger guys prefer TikTok. Maybe the guys who are Gen X will be on X, or they'll be on Facebook. So that is going to play a very big role in moving forward.
Right.
Even before you look at the political scene, I think the first thing is to ask ourselves, how are we consuming information?
Right.
Yeah.
And we being here, even as the voters,
yes.
When you look at the voters, mostly we've had voter apathy, and mostly young people saying they do not see the need for even going to the ballot.
Yeah.
For this particular electioneering year, for 2027, and even further electioneering years, even as you say, we are definitely seeing an evolution of AI.
Yeah.
What do you anticipate in this particular year? Are we going to see another voter apathy on the same?
Very good question. So one of the key things that I maybe have observed as an individual is that elections are highly emotive.
Yeah.
And if you look at the past issues we had last year with the finance bill and how the Gen Zs just came up, it's a movement that nobody expected to happen. So my predictions are, moving forward, 27 could be a highly emotional time for the country. And most likely you could see a difference in terms of how people will actually be able to participate. And I think technology has actually made it much easier for the public just to share their opinion. So it means today I can get some information and post it online. And because of that convenience that I don't have to be in the streets, especially to have my voice heard, that has actually created a big a platform for people to start to engage and to actually air their views.
Right.
So the interesting aspect here is to see how is this technology going to impact us moving forward. And if we start with the basic stuff of, let's look at if somebody sends you something to that's trending. The first time you look at it, it evokes some emotions in you.
Okay.
So because it's an emotional thing, you may not have that much time to try to figure out, is this even the truth?
Yeah.
So either do a comment or I forward it to my friends, and before you realize, that story is actually now what people are taking as the gospel truth.
And so the question arises here, because we've definitely seen this in different WhatsApp groups, and a photo or a video would be sent. How do I know that this is AI-generated image, AI-generated video?
Very good question. So one of the key things to note here is that where we are emotional, we really don't have time to start analyzing.
And do fact-checking on the same.
And do fact-checking. So that's the challenge with AI. And it's getting better at creating what are called deepfakes.
Okay.
So people have, this term is being used a lot about deepfakes. So basically that means that this is a digitally forged image. And the challenge with AI, if you looked at the definition, and I like the primer you did on AI, one of the key things to the capability of this technology to self-learn, or to be able to use a model or to use an algorithm to be able to predict what's the next thing to happen. So the deepfakes are actually generated using a very interesting technology where we have two models here. So there's the forger model, and then there's a detective model.
Okay.
So what the forger model does, tries to mimic Stanley's image, and then hands over to the detective and tells him, can you just try to verify if this image is a fake?
Right.
So the detective model tries to, of course, starts to run the algorithms, picks up a few pixels that are not accurate, sends back to the forger, tells them, hey, you need to work on this area for your fake image.
Right.
Then the forger now reworks, sends it back to the detective, and this loop continues.
Right.
Because these are machines that you're using. So at the end of the result, you could have a pixel perfect image that I can generate of you, and it'll be very difficult for even yourself to be able to see, is this my image or is this a deep fake that has actually been generated?
Are there basic tools that for people at home they can use to verify and do fact checking? Because as you say again, it definitely creates quite an emotive feeling when you see a certain political figure that you support saying certain words that he or she did not actually say. So are there certain tools that we can use to verify the same?
Yeah, so that would put us in forensics, digital forensics. So that's maybe a field that is out of reach for the normal user.
Okay.
And again, when you start looking at things like the synthetic voices that are being created right now, they are very accurate. Actually, the last election for the US, there's a very interesting deepfake that was going around for Joe Biden.
Yes, and then Donald Trump, the whole conversation,
Yes, so especially the clips, they are really, unless a forensics is done, you'll not be able to detect whether this is a true clip or not. It's a true or false clip. For the videos, some of them that are done quickly, you can easily tell. But also the problem is that already the damage has been done. I remember I saw one for a very funny clip for Joe Biden where he was doing the anthem, but he was just running, they were putting a cartoon song in the background. So the first time I saw it, I laughed and I was like, before you realize, you're like, the damage has already been done.
Right. So that means even before you share something to someone else, you have to look at it a number of times so that you even tell out the features and everything on the same.
So that happens. So let me just allow me to digress a little bit into the issue of deepfakes. Right now, one of the main challenges globally is around scamming, especially crypto scamming. Just to show you how this technology has evolved. So most of the scammers right now would pick up public figures. People like Elon Musk are being used to create fake adverts on crypto opportunities. And this is in the fast world, and the people are falling victims to these scams. So you can imagine you're talking about where people are investing their money. I read a story the other day of somebody who actually so I was watching the clip on YouTube. There's one pensioner in Australia who lost 450,000 Australian dollars.
Wow.
To these scammers, because the advert was done on social media, of course using deepfake, but once they baited him, now real scammers call him and they start to engage him. So you can imagine this is matters of people actually investing and they're getting scammed. So when it comes to a political issue, which is highly emotional, you can imagine how decision making is going to be done. So things like somebody could come and say that they're stepping down. It's 12 hours to the election.
Yeah, okay.
By the time people are trying to figure out whether, this is true or false, the elections are over.
And the fact that you actually mentioned that Samuel wanted to get into the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission in the process of, reconstituting it right now, even as we head to 2027. For the ones that are going to be taking the helm of this IEBC, the leaders there, the ones who are going to be participating in the same, what do they need to know about AI? What kind of an IEBC do you foresee that really understands how AI works and what you're talking about?
I think they need to be very tech savvy. They definitely need to have a proper and a strong department internally, especially in IT, that is able not only to understand but continuously monitor. So from that perspective, they can play a very good role in terms of educating the masses, because that could have a deterrence. I think once they educate the masses that this could be happening potentially, then that could maybe reduce the impact. But we can't brush it away and say that, we're going to deal with this thing in its all entirety.
Right. And now that again speaks on matters regulation. There is, because now here the government is walking a tightrope. It's got a delicate balancing act for the government. One hand, you have to regulate artificial intelligence. But on the other hand, you seek to, have freedom of speech for the people and make sure that there's transparency and all that. How does the government manage this delicate balancing act?
Yeah, so again, when it comes to regulating AI, so we can maybe just take a step back and let's look at even the tech firms, okay? If you look at these giants, when AI was really starting to become like an in thing, one of the key things was being asked is how do we regulate Google and Microsoft?
Yeah.
So you realize the CEO at Google say, I can self-regulate, but I don't know what these other guys doing behind the scene.
Yeah.
So even before we start looking at the political scene, you can imagine in our East African community, assuming one of our neighbors, they are deep at work in terms of enhancing their technologies and enhancing their service delivery. When you regulate, then you're telling the local people is that maybe this and this is not allowed. So that becomes like a big challenge for, maybe in my view, for government to first of all think about regulating, because they're the benefits of AI. We can't just come and zoom in and say because it can create some deep fakes, now we need to get rid of the technology. We need to first of all ask ourselves, how can it benefit the society? Then in that context, you start to be able to put parameters and say, then maybe we can tighten our laws and say X, Y, Z. But the other challenge again with social media, the issue of parody accounts. So today I don't need to have my own identity. I can even steal your identity. I could take your photo, go to any of these social media platforms, create an account with your name, and I use your photo. So it's very hard to be able to really regulate this technology because, again, it's readily available. If you have an Apple or a Samsung phone right now, you can already install any of these prompts and use it to be able, these bots, you can be able to install it and do quite a number of things. You can edit videos, you can edit images. So that can be a very difficult conversation to have, but maybe look at it from the goodwill aspect and then be able now to put restrictions around it. Yeah.
Another possible challenge, and we've definitely seen this on regulating even social media at large, is the government telling this social media accounts and owners really that they need to have a physical presence in the country. How should we go about this conversation? Because when you look at, let's say, for example, DeepSeek, now that the models update every single time, have a 2.0, in a few months they have a 3.0, because there's quite the rush in because there are quite many of them in the world. How can the government go about that conversation of yes, we understand as DeepSeek, as ChatGPT, you're here, but this is how you, being in our country, this is how you're going to operate?
I mean, that's a very difficult conversation to have because we say data has no boundaries.
Yeah.
Today, you say have a social, you have an X account. So the question is, where is your data residing right now? So very difficult to put up a physical boundary on technology and to put a physical boundary on data. So one of the key things maybe to have a conversation around that is to try to maybe have strong enforcement, whereby if we wanted maybe to take down a certain account or take down a certain post, then that maybe there's a tighter turnaround time. But again, the same, the other side of the coin is that some of these platforms like X is owned by Elon Musk, who his philosophy is open and freedom to speech. So it's a very tough conversation to actually be able to say that, you can enforce tight restrictions, but some food for thought there.
Right.
Yeah.
And speak of some strict restrictions. Now, on Friday, that was the 31st of January, there was a data breach, the Business Registration Service. I'm taking a look at a certain memo that was brought out by the BRS today afternoon, saying the official statement from the Business Registration Service, BRS, on this particular potential data breach. For such, and the last time we did see such a big amount of data breach was way back at the airports, JKIA particularly. For such, and so even as we're going to take a short break, would like to know how can we navigate such? This is your forte here.
Yes.
Matters cybersecurity. It really touches on artificial intelligence. We're taking a short break, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, we'll be diving into this particular evolution of AI, just getting into cybersecurity, the kind of recent cases that we've had, and much more. Don't go too far.
Are you ready to elevate your business game?
As long as you're earning something, there's always that opportunity to save. And you start with where you are.
Kama wewe ni mfanyabiashara, huwezi kaa bure, unajipanga taratibu vile inavyofaa.
Join us each week as we dive into the stories of the world's most driven entrepreneurs.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
The Grind, where business meets brilliance. Tune in every Monday at 7:30 p.m. because your business deserves the best.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in? I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
You're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m.
Minutes past the top of the hour. This is TV47 Weekend Edition. We're taking a look at the impact that artificial intelligence has for the near elections, that is 2027 elections, and even moving further. Joining us tonight, Patrick Kiniti. He is Senior Systems Engineer at Techmax Africa Limited. Before the break, he was very beautifully explaining to us how AI really touches on matters 2027 elections, particularly on misinformation and such like, and also touched on cybersecurity, which really is his forte. And the question that I was throwing to you just before we took a short break, alluding to the event that happened, the case that happened on the 31st of January, which is on Friday, and for the business registration service, which is a government organization, by the way, which a number of people don't really know about, holds quite important data for business organizations and such like. There was a whole data breach on the same. Now, when you look at 2027 elections and even moving further, some of this data could belong to someone who would want to vie. And right now, when you look at even in the internet, people have access to this data. Data such as who this person is a proprietor, is the owner of a certain company. Do you foresee any possibilities of blackmail and such like, and someone being told, if you don't do this, then we're going to, tell people this is who you are?
Yeah, so I mean, cybersecurity is definitely going to play a pivotal role moving forward. So like in the recent breach with BRS, a lot of sensitive information has been leaked out there. So you can imagine in a case, especially in our social fabric, a certain prominent person could be involved maybe in a deal that was happened, and his information has been leaked out there. So one of the key things that is going to come in critically, especially around data privacy, this becomes like a two-edged sword, where we say that we want to digitize as a nation, which is a very good move. But at the end, on the other end, we need to be custodians of this data. So that's a big challenge to the government in terms of how then they ensure that they enhance their data security. We can't really blame them too much because we are still in our early days. Look at advanced democracies like America. I mean, they experience these breaches on a day in, day out. We have huge money heists happening abroad. And so I think maybe the challenge to the government and to any person out there who's keeping the information on any cloud service provider is to always start with security in mind.
Right. And the fact that you say we are still in the early stages, even for the viewer, so that you also know, there's the Kenya National Artificial Intelligence Strategy 2025 this year, all the way to 2030, a 5-year plan that the government has. This was released way back in 2018 by the Ministry of ICT. Then, I know in your field, you've maybe taken a look at this particular strategy, just, forecasting what the country needs to do. And you had alluded to earlier the kind of things that we need to do. So even in your final thoughts, what do we really need to do as a country to ensure that our future is solid when it comes to how our usage of AI?
Yeah, so I think maybe to just make this information, first of all, readily available, I think we're heading in the right direction. There are good steps, things like e-citizen portal, which are making things much more easier, our money transfer services. So we are heading in the right direction. So the key thing here is for the policymakers to start to have an open mind, whereby we, instead of issuing statements like we're going to clamp down on social media, how do we then turn this tool and our very youthful and intelligent young population to become the innovators of the future. So that some of these challenges that we're facing, like data security, the plans that we may have for our future, then we have a population that is tech savvy, tech enabled, and they can actually be able to become the custodians of our future. Then the worries about politics and whether I've done the right thing or not, or whether there's an avatar out there, maybe should come last. Because if that leads us, then it means that we're going to sacrifice progress for the sake of politics.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Patrick Kiniti. He's a senior systems engineer at TechMax Africa Limited, just helping us understand our future of artificial intelligence in the country, even as we look at the 2027 elections. What do we really need to do? What does the government need to do? What does IBC need to do? Most importantly, what does you need to do? I'm pretty sure the people who have been amazed by your wisdom here tonight, you could probably tell us where they could follow you for more of these insights.
Yeah, so...
and probably, sorry to cut you short, and probably even advice to the young people.
Yeah, so like I said, my name is Patrick Kiniti, working at TechMax Solutions Africa. So they can get us on Twitter, TechMax Africa. You can also follow us on LinkedIn as TechMax Africa.
Okay.
And I think to the young guys, there's been a lot happening in the past 2 weeks. I think for me, the advice to them is that Rome was not built in a day. So they just need to be a little bit patient with their dreams, but definitely they need to be on the right path of AI. So with Matters AI, there's a very important question that I was hoping you'd ask, maybe could be my parting shot, is will AI replace human beings? So the simple answer to that is that AI will not replace human beings.
Okay.
But human beings with AI will replace human beings that are not using AI.
Right.
So you need to join the bandwagon.
Food for thought on that particular bit, even as you continue with your food this particular evening. I'm yours truly, Stanley Nyaringita. Kiniti, thank you very much once more. And thank you very much to you who has been tuned in from 9 p.m. until now, about 10 minutes to 11 p.m. Have yourself a beautiful week ahead. Go ahead, Ray.